All right, let's get this going here. All right. Okay, guys, so this is going to be kind of like the, it's going to be a tutorial for group members only. This video is going to be long form. It's going to be a YouTube video, but it's going to be private for the Facebook group members. It's going to be basically really good for like new people that don't know how to play the game, people that don't, normally play, people that are just transitioning over or just checking it out. Maybe they're coming over from blackjack, something like that, and they just need kind of like a little foundational understanding of a proven strategy that actually will work for them if they have the discipline to do it. I love blackjack people that come from the AP blackjack world, because they're very disciplined. Their systems are so much more complicated and harder to do, which they're not necessarily hard, but by comparison they're harder. They're a lot more complicated. This is really, really simple. So as you see in the picture on the screen, let's just say this is a brand new shoe, okay? Baccarat is all about nines, right? So everything's with nines. You want to get to 9, you want to be closest to 9 to win. Also, when you're looking for patterns, consider the last 3 columns of the shoe when making your decision, and then also the top 3 rows. Okay, the safest places to place bets, the absolute safest place if the pattern presents itself is the safest bet is P2, or second player. If you look on the screen, it's the one that has the 2 right in the middle. That's the safest bet, just because like there's no commission or anything on it. Most people say no, Banker has a higher percentage, and what I'm saying is if the pattern presents itself. Okay, I'm not talking about overall game statistics or whatever. I'm talking about when you're implementing the strategy that I use. P2 is the safest bet, and again, there would have to be a pattern that supports that. So a pattern that supports that would be like this. So the one on the screen. So the smartest, safest bet. Let's say you were watching this hand play out, or this shoe play out, right? And you saw the first one. You let it play out for about 9 runs or whatever. Some of these could have been ties, let's say, but basically want to consider the 9 squares of the shoe, the top of the shoe. So the top 3 rows, and then the last 3 columns. But let's just say this is a brand new shoe. So the first hand that you let go by, because we get an advantage by playing online, right? You can't do this in a brick and mortar casino, but online you get to sit there and wait. So we're going to let the first few hands run through, right? So in this particular shoe, the first 3 hands were player, and then the 4th is where it switched, and we started to, that's the very beginning of the pattern, okay? Because that's where you have a shift, and then if the shift continues, then that's the first pattern, which is what this is here. This whole image here is a display of the first pattern. So this particular one is PPP, BBB, right? So, and the pattern starts over again on hand 7 there, where player was hit again. The smartest, safest bet again in this column would be P2. So player 2 or second player, right? Or P2. All you have to remember, basically, since the majority of your bets will be in those first 2 to 3 rows, you just have to remember basically B1, B2, P1, and P2. Because those are the easiest to spot. It's so simple. Here, let me show you some other ones. So this particular one, maybe you guys can see it, maybe not, but this particular one, instead of betting down, so the very last row there, or column, has 6 bankers. So instead of betting B7 or the 7th banker of that run, what I would do is I would wait until player hits. I would use player 1 or P1, right, or first player. I would use that as my trigger. So I'm just going to sit back and let this run. Even if it keeps going, I don't care. I'm not going to bet on that because I'm trying to bet once and then leave, right? I'm trying to bet once, win, and bounce. That's my thing. One and done, hit and run, wham bam, thank you ma'am. So the safest way, smartest way to do that, according to the pattern, since every single time banker hit, it hit twice, right? The safest way to do this would be using player as your trigger, this is one way to do it. So you can use player as your trigger, player 1, right? When it comes through P1, then go ahead and immediately bet on B1 or first banker, right? Or the safest bet, since all the other columns developed into a run, or at least dropped down to 2 rows, right? The safer bet of those 2 choices would be go ahead and let B1 be your trigger and then just bet on B2. But me personally, I like to do player bets just because I don't want to pay the commission. And it's just because I just like easy math stuff. If I'm betting $1,000 a hand, it's just easier math. I don't have to figure out the commission and crap. Because I'm also using my budget to make projected wins too. So I'm trying to figure if I keep on track, if I keep doing this, it's a lot easier for me to do the math and say, hey, if I do like I did today for another 6 days, then I'll be at this number. It's a lot easier for me to do that than figure and banker crap. Anyway, that's just personal preference. Okay, let's check out another one. So this one I would say is player. And again, you can see that. We'll zoom in here. Right there, 52 hands were dealt. Player was 27 of them, and 16 of them, 11 less, was banker. There was 9 ties, which we don't really count. But so we can look at this and we can tell, if we were just jumping in, you should be able to look at this and tell that there it is, that second row right there, P2, every single one of these would have hit. If you just let P1 be your trigger, you would have won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bets in a row. And at $1,000 a piece, that's pretty great. This particular game here, I was playing 10K hands. But that's basically it for this basic understanding. You want to look at these last 9 rows here, okay? These last 9 squares where you have, let's see, 5 players and then 3 and then 2. I mean, come on, it's pretty common sense. The most common thing to come next would be another player. That would be the most likely bet. And if it wasn't, what you would do in that situation, if player did not come next in this shoe and it was banker, then you let banker run its run of 3, it looks like, because that's what it typically does, right? 3 bankers, and then it goes back to player. You let that run out, and you wait for P1. P1's your trigger. As soon as P1 hits, because that's the pattern that's the strongest, is P2, right? P2 is the strongest bet, the safest bet. So you let P1 be your trigger, and then bet on P2. You double up that bet. If you lost that last one, you double up that bet, and then you've made back what you lost, and you actually profited, and then you stop. That's your one and done right there. Technically, yeah, you bet twice, but you got one and done. One spelled W-O-N. I spell it that way on purpose. So once you've won, you're done. Okay, let's see. Let's check another one real quick. That's the same one. Yeah, so this was actually the screenshot before this one, and that's exactly what happened. So this is where it was going. P1 was the trigger. Yep, and I bet 10K on it right there, and then I won it. And then you can see P2 was the winning bet there. Yeah. Okay, there was another one. Okay, so here's one that I found that I like here. Again, P2 is going to be your safest bet here. Check it out. Starts out with 4 players, right? You can see in the top left corner here. 4 players and then 1 banker. And then 2 players, 1 banker. And then 3 players, 1 banker, right? So look at the second row, which we'll call P2, because that's the bet that you would be making. You would be betting on the second position for player, right? Look at that. All those hit. Now, P3, go down 1, right? That's not going to win as much. You're gonna lose 1, 2 of those hands. And then if you go down to P4, this is why I say keep it around P2. P1, P2, you know. If there's a pattern where it's always 1 banker and then immediately goes back to player, go ahead and go for P1. You know, but like I said, that's a good, educated, smart bet to not take a bet or a chance on a banker run developing for no reason. There's no indication that that's happening. The smartest, safest bet's is gonna be go ahead and bet on P1, and then again, if that was not right and a banker run for some crazy reason did develop, then all you got to do is wait for P1 to hit and then bet on P2. Double up and bet on P2 again. But this particular one was P2 was solid all the way. Every single time player came out, it was more than twice. So I believe, if I remember correctly, if I remember correctly, I could be misquoting, but I'm gonna try. I think it's 80% of the hands that are dealt are in the top 2 rows, if I remember correct. So that's why I said those are your best ones. And then if you just use the top row to be your trigger line, you're good, you know. And I do know how to read the other roads, the other like the slash marks and the other dots and stuff. But to me, I wanted to come up with something that was simple, you know, super simple. To me, these types of pattern recognition stuff is kind of like grade school kind of stuff, like stuff you used to get back in the day with back in 2nd grade. You get a paper from the teacher and it would have like 2 red apples and then 2 blueberries and then 2 more red apples and then 2 blueberries, and then they say, what do you think is next, Johnny? And you say, maybe 2 red apples, and they say, good job, Johnny, you're right. That kind of stuff. That's basically what this is. You're just looking at the way it's played out and saying, based on the data presented to me, and having the understanding that something that has already happened is more likely to happen again rather than something that has never or has yet to happen. With that simple understanding, and apply that to what the board is showing you, you automatically up your odds from being 50-50 like most people commonly think the game is, a coin flip they'll say, etc., except coins don't land on their edges, creating a third variable of potential wins, but whatever. you take your odds from roughly 50%, and you're up around 80 plus, to 90. Now you add in the factor too that you're only betting once, maybe twice in a shoe, and you're betting your entire goal that you want for the day. So what I teach people, or what I do, and what I recommend to people that I do help teach, and I'm not like saying I am a teacher or anything. It's just I'm just sharing what works for me. I'm not some guru or anything. I hate that whole thing. I show everybody what I do for free. Don't charge anything. I only charge people if they want me to play for them. I'll charge 10 to 20%, depending on what it is, to play for them. But I'm not charging for just the knowledge, right? And I basically, like I said, I just want something simple that I can show somebody, and they can be like, oh wow, that makes sense, yeah. And I was able to put it into 1 minute long video clips, the shorts or the reels. Make it super simple and easily shareable. Try to make it entertaining to some degree. Yeah, but what I do teach people, like I said, if you have a bankroll, let's say you have a bankroll of 10,000. 10,000 is a great bankroll amount. I recommend betting 10%. That's your max bet. Your maximum bet is 10% of your bankroll. So, and the reason for that is because you're only betting once. Like I said, maybe twice. I say max bet, but it's like your max single bet. So you have one chance to double up, like I've already said in these other examples I've given. At that point, you would be doubling it. So at that point, your max bet would go to 2,000, but that would be it. That's the only time you do that. And if that doesn't work, you're done for that session. Okay, take a break, come back later, or take the day off and come back the next day, something like that. Or go to a different shoe. Those are all options that you can think about at the time. But sometimes if I lose a hand, on a shoe, right? I lose. It does something I was not expecting or whatever. I'll just go to a completely different game. I mean, a completely different table, or totally different website even. Not because of any kind of weird. So you'll see people talking like what's his name, BFX or whatever on YouTube. People like him, they'll talk about dealers like purposely messing with them and stuff like that, not giving them good cards on purpose or trying to keep them from winning. That's all nonsense. That's all conspiracy garbage. That's not happening. The person's just doing their job. Anyway, I don't get all weird on that. The reason why I change casinos sometimes or websites is just because none of those, maybe that website doesn't have multiple tables that I can choose from or something like that. So you might see me change games. The second part of this tutorial is going to actually have live gameplay in it. So the first part, I wanted to make it kind of be like a theory type thing where I just kind of explain the theory. I explain the strategy, and then I kind of show how it works, which is what I've been doing. And I kind of explain like the bankroll, money management side of it, what works for me, what I do, and what I recommend for people. And then the second part of this tutorial will be live gameplay, and you'll see me switch between different casinos sometimes. It'll be a lot shorter of the videos because I'm literally just going to jump on, spot the pattern, identify the pattern right, and then make my play and bounce. So it's going to be pretty short, but I am going to try and work in all three casinos, all three different websites that I play at, and I'm going to try and win all three of them in a row. which I normally don't do. I'm just simply doing it for theatrics. I might even call it out in the chat if the pattern looks strong enough, just for fun. It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool to see them. They'll read it out loud. It's a chat to the dealer, and they'll read it out loud to everybody else, and they'll be like, "Oh, you think players next? Okay, we'll see." And I've gotten it wrong sometimes, but then I get the next one right, just like always. But it does kind of suck when I'm wrong. But the first time I ever tried it was recorded, and I shared that, and that was cool. It was just really neat that it happened at that time. I never even had that idea before. I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna call this out in the chat," and the chick was like, "Oh, you think so?" And then she was like, "Oh, that's great." And I don't even know why, but my name in the chat is something sorcerer. It shows it on the video. If you look at the video, venerable sorcerer or something like that. And I'm like, what the I did not make that as my name. My name is Baccarat AP on there, as far as I know. I went into the profile stuff, and it doesn't say anything, any sorcerer or whatever, but the chick called me something sorcerer, and then I looked at the chat, and I was like, yeah, it says that right there, venerable sorcerer or something. That's freaking crazy. I don't know where that came from. Anyway, let's see what else we got here. I was going to show you guys. Oh yeah, this was another one. This was an actual screenshot from a game. It's a little blurry, but again, just another example of P2 being a good safe bet. You can see the majority of the hands. What is it? 20 something hands, 26, 28, I don't know. But yeah, that's pretty much it. You know, a lot of the times I won't even look at the card numbers as they're coming out. I'm literally just looking at this scoreboard. I'm just looking right here up at the top. And just like this. So like, see, it goes banker, right? And then 3 player, and then banker, right? So red, 3 blue, and then red right there at the very last one, right? So again, if this is all I was considering was those last 9 boxes there, if that's my like data source right there, that's what I'm looking at to decide what is coming next. For the most part, sure, I do glance back and I look at this other stuff too, but this is ideally right here. These 9 squares is what's going to determine what I choose next, which in this situation I would choose P1 and P2. Because like I said, if I lost P1 in this situation, if Banker did develop a run for some crazy reason, since we're playing online, we can wait and let P1 be our trigger to place the bet for P2. And we can double our bet and recoup what we just lost. I promise you, this is the best, smartest, safest way to play this game. I promise you. There's no counting involved. You know, there's no card counting or anything like that. You don't have to do none of that shit. Just pay attention to the last nine I call them squares, I guess, but pay attention to the last 3 columns and the top 3 rows. Okay, giving you your 9. If it was a brand new shoe, again, you'd want to pay attention to that same area. Or if let's say it's a super choppy, let's say there was no runs at all, right, and it was just super choppy, you still want to you want 9 outcomes at least. So let's say it just went player, banker, player, banker, player, banker. Let that run for a little bit. When you're confident, go ahead and make a bet, like a TBL bet, time before last, or a opposite bet, whatever you think it's going to be. But personally, I don't even play a lot of shoes that are just straight choppy B1, P1 outcomes. I look for the runs and then I bet with them. And like I said, most of the time I'm shooting for that P2 mark. I'm going for second player or P2. Alright guys, that's all I got for this one right now. If you got any questions, put it in the comments. I will be, like I said, uploading this to YouTube, but it will be a private video just for our members in the Facebook group. For now anyway. I might release it later, but we'll see. Alright guys, peace.